1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for flowers and gifts starting at $29.99. Again, the ESPY's word of the day is coming up. We'll give you the word. We'll give you the ways to enter. You could win this fabulous trip, you and a guest, to the ESPYs in July, which will include walking the red carpet and hanging out with the big stars. So many of the questions, of course, this morning about Brady. What did he know? When did he know it? Belichick, did he know? Did he not? Do they all know these things? The $1 million, I do discount the $1 million. This is a franchise that's worth $2.6 billion. The 0.6 is not millions. It's hundreds of millions. This is a franchise that would spend over $1 million on a party after the Super Bowl if they lose.
I don't discount it totally because I never, $1 million is still $1 million. But of the penalties that went against them, that's the least. From, Brady being gone for 4 games to them losing 2 draft picks to the $1 million. The $1 million is the least.
Here's the thing. Now, Tim Hasselbeck brought up a really good point yesterday. We're trying to find the audio of it, but he was on SVP and Russillo yesterday, and he brought up something I hadn't thought of, but it's a good point. He said, how can the Patriots back Brady 100%? If you go back to that statement, Ray, can I have the statement again? You had it up a minute ago. The original statement from the initial reaction from Robert Kraft. Despite our conviction that there was no tampering with footballs. That's the first sentence. And the last sentence is, Tom Brady has our unconditional support. Our belief in him has not wavered. So the fact, and he goes on to say the findings were based on circumstantial rather than hard or conclusive evidence. So they continue to maintain that the footballs were not tampered with.
They said the footballs, and they didn't say Tom Brady not tampering with footballs. They said that their conviction.
They presented all their science.
No tampering with the footballs.
They presented the scientific evidence supported by the ideal gas law.
Of course they did.
So they did all of that.
Who doesn't know that law?
They also, on the day that the Wells report was released, suspended the 2 ball boys, or the equipment guys.
Right.
Jastrzemski and McNally.
Right.
As Tim Hasselbeck asked, why?
If they're so sure that because Kraft has said it in the statement, we were not tampering with the footballs. It's the gas law theory. I mean, he said over and over again, that's their stance, plain and simple. Then why is McNally and Jastrzemski, why are those guys suspended without pay from the team and Brady's not? Like, what? Please tell me what the difference is there.
It's a great question.
Great point.
Again, one is a part-time employee and the other is a full-time employee, but
neither one of them are Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And they're sitting at home without pay while Tom is the avatar for the New England Patriots, Twitter handle. So I think it's a great question. If you came out and said we don't think Tom Brady had anything to do with it, it changes the equation. But they're adamantly green. He keeps reading it, and it's right there for everybody to read. They don't think anything happened. They don't think anything went wrong, yet they suspended those 2 guys without pay.
Now, Donald Trump, here it is. Donald Trump says he thinks Tom Brady should sue the league.
Well, personally, I'd tell him to sue the league for a lot of money. I'd say defamation and everything else. And, a lot of people say the Bulls might not have even been under that group. And everybody does. I'm hearing everybody does it. Now, what do I know? But I'm hearing that it's been done by others. And who are the others? And how have they done it? But in this case, when I hear the words more probable than not, that's a conviction. That's not a conviction. They don't have the evidence. They don't have the proof. And if I were Tom, I'd probably sue the league for $250 million for defamation. And by the way, they would come very quickly and very fast to settle that suit.
I couldn't disagree more with that.
Which part?
About they would come quickly to settle that suit. I mean, and as far as a conviction, we said that. It's not a conviction, but you know what it is? Libel in a civil suit. And that's good enough in a civil suit, probable and all that. What?
Well, I'll play Ted Wells. I wasn't going to play this yet, but I'll play this directly. He specifically addresses why he used the standard of more probable than not. This is the independent investigator Ted Wells on his conference call yesterday.
I used the words more probable than not because that is what is in the rules, because I thought it was appropriate when people read my report to always make sure that they understood the burden of proof that I was following. I did not want someone to read the report if I just said proven and think perhaps I had used a beyond a reasonable doubt standard. I think that would have been misleading.
That's his explanation of why they use that specifically.
Tom suing the league and getting $250 million in the league, I couldn't, listen, we've had Donald now, we have him on about, I completely disagree with that. That wouldn't happen, I don't think, at all.
Well,
and quite honestly, if he wanted to sue the league, then Tom may have to show a little more evidence, some of the texts on his phone that he didn't want to show in the first place.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
That's the point I was going to make. That's not going to happen because he did it. If he didn't do it, it would make sense.
Yeah.
If he didn't do it, then if I were Brady, I would sue the league. He's been stunningly quiet through this. Mm-hmm. He didn't come out right after this and say, I didn't do any such thing. Don't be ridiculous. He didn't say that last week with Jim Gray.
Nope.
He said, you know what? I've just had 30 hours to digest this.
Yeah.
That's the part of this that I believe that the league overreacted. Yeah. I believe that the punishment is heavy-handed. I do not believe it fits the crime.
But we're not surprised they did that.
But the notion that he didn't do it is ridiculous. If you read the thing, everything would point to the fact that he did do it and was involved. So I don't. That part of it I don't understand, and I think on some level he's making a lot of his friends here, Kraft and everybody else, look bad.
Yeah.
By defending him the way that they have, and that's why he's not going to sue the league.
Kind of the way Aaron Rodgers, so openly defended Ryan Braun.
Right. Now that brings us to the other thing Trump said, which I do think is interesting. This came up yesterday. I was just sitting in the room when we were getting ready to do the upfront. It's a long day, and John Gruden's in there, and Mike Tirico, and Chris Carter, and a whole bunch of football people in the room. And one of the things that came up is, who has been stunning? What group of people has largely been stunningly quiet throughout this process? The other quarterbacks in the National Football League. The other quarterbacks. So when you hear Trump say everybody does it. Now, does everyone do this specifically after the balls have been inspected and weighed, surreptitiously take them into a bathroom for a minute and 40 seconds and let some air out of them? My guess is probably not. But is there a reason that the quarterbacks have all been stunningly quiet? Someone in the room suggested they just have a fraternity and they kind of stick together. Do you buy that, or do you think it's that a lot of other quarterbacks don't want their closets inspected?
Well, I think, because I do think a lot of players push the envelope and push it a little bit, that maybe they don't want too many people coming down their hallway.
All right, I didn't leave you enough time to answer that question. We're back with more in just a moment.